That's your lane for the investment space?
Oh, we're here. Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to Investor You. I have my co-host with the most, Mr. Carmichael. You can call him Derek, but Mr. Carmichael is his preferred moniker. And today we have a special guest, dear friend of mine, super smart guy. He's got his finger on the pulse of a lot of things, including tax deeds and investing, and he walks the walk and talks the talk. It's Joseph Griffin. So welcome, gentlemen. How are you today? How's everybody?
Doing well.
Doing awesome. Thanks for having me.
I know I've got Joseph in the studio today in person. That sounds so good to say. So each week we talk about investor stuff. It doesn't have to necessarily be real estate, but we have been focusing on that. It can be resources and people and startups and all sorts of things, business loans. So we're gonna continue to talk about all of that stuff. But this week, we're going to talk about all things Joseph Griffin, which I'll let him get into in a minute. Derek, before we get going and I let Joseph introduce himself, tell them a little bit about you.
Absolutely. Hey guys, Derek Carmichael International. You guys already know your investor, your hard money lender. At this point lately, it seems to be mentor. I've been getting blown up from that last event that I did. So folks wanting to learn a little bit more about how they can get started, things that I did. And so you guys know, reach me on my Instagram, my email, my phone number, and I'd love to talk with you and see what I can do to help.
I love it. All right. So that's where Derek's the brainchild behind TedGoesHard.com. I got to give you credit where credit's due. We had a giggle about that before we went live. Joseph Griffin, a veteran, a friend, and really an all-around investor type guru. So welcome to the show. You've been on several times. You've been on my Heroes Always Welcome show. You've been on the regular TED show, and now we're going to talk about investing. So give them a little 411 on you, my friend.
What's going on, everybody? Joseph Griffin, known as the tax deed wolf. So I came up into this real estate game as a tax sale investor. When people don't pay their property taxes, we come in and we get those properties for pennies on the dollar. So really specialized and got a lot of doors that way. And then now transitioning, doing a lot of creative acquisitions. So tax deed turned into wholesale, turned into seller finance, turned into subject to, turned into a whole lot of different things for us. Currently, personally on door number 34, and just really killing this real estate game and loving every piece of it.
So let's talk. Door 34, for those of you who might have been me before we started the show. That means he has 34 properties, and we can talk a little bit about how they're titled and how that all works. But talk about the tax deeds first, because when I was coming up in the real estate world, I went to CFRI a lot, which is a local long-term investment type group. And there was one person who talked about tax deeds, and everybody kind of rolled their eyes and they really had no idea what they were talking about. So talk a little bit about the tax deeds from an investment standpoint, how that works, how much money you have to have. Is it difficult? Do you get stuck? Do you have to fight homeowners? Give them a little bit about.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to take it way back. In every old historical movie you ever seen, they had to pay taxes to the king or they got beat up, right? So nothing's changed. When you own your real estate, when you own any property in America, you have to pay your property taxes. A lot of Americans don't even know this. It's like hidden in their escrow, and they're like, oh, am I paying my property taxes? Yes, if you're paying your mortgage. But when you're done paying that mortgage, you're still responsible for those property taxes. And so this is typically the properties that we see, people who own their properties outright. We come in, we go to the county clerk of court, we look for this list of people who have defaulted on their taxes. Now, there are different types: tax liens, tax deeds, tax redemption deeds, adjudicated properties, scavenger sale, commissioner sale, there's sheriff's sale, depends on where you live, right? So we come in, we get these properties, we use it as a leads list, right? A lot of people wait for the auction. I don't really like the auction, so we take that, we start skip tracing, we're approaching these property owners, we're getting it under contract, wholesaling it to our investor team, or we're buying it ourselves, or we're converting it to Airbnb. The sky's not even the limit. Whatever we can creatively think of and put in a contract and two people agree on,
Yes.
Love it.
Now, the prices though, oh man, I've gotten properties for $500, $1,900.
So how does that work? Explain to me. You have to dumb everything down and then dumb it downer. Explain everything as far as you purchase, let's say 500 is the number, right?
Mm-hmm.
And y'all don't take that to the bank. Like that's every single tax deed sale and all of that, but we're going to use that number. What does that get you? And how is that a positive investment for you?
Definitely. So what happens is, let's say Ted here owes $3,000, well, $500 in this scenario. Ted owes $500 to the county. He doesn't pay. 2 years, let's just say, goes by. That turned into a lien, and then no one bought the lien. Let's just say, or someone bought the lien. Then it went to a deed sale. I come in at this auction. The amount of opening bid would be $500. If that's everything Ted owes plus interest and all that, if it's $500, that's the opening bid at that sale. So if I come into this sale and I bid $500, no one else bids against me, I literally get the deed to Ted's land or whatever if he has a structure on that land, then I can get the title on that too. But I'm getting the deed to Ted's land, and that's literally coming in into my name. I just got one last week, $1,400 for an acre.
Wow.
Oh,
and so
awesome.
what happens next? Like, do people then, do you go to the homeowner or the landowner and say, hey, you got to buy this back from me? Like, what's the long-term goal of that?
So for me, the long-term goal, besides generational wealth, right? Because the house can sit there all day and you can have that equity. But if you're not making any monthly passive cash flow from that asset, then to me, it's like, what's the point? So my goal is cash flow. I break everything down. A lot of people are looking to, I want to make 6 figures a year. Or I want to make this much a year. Well, I just want to make X amount a month. How about that? I just want to make this amount a month and limit my expenses to make sure that my monthly income by far exceeds my expenses. That's always the goal for us.
It's interesting. Have you dealt with tax deeds, Derek?
It's funny you should ask. So the property that you saw me, my current flip now, remember I told you it was kind of 2 in 1. It was a probate situation, but because it was a probate, they typically do have a tax issue. So they were behind. They were delinquent $10,500. So once I had the ability to actually buy the property, same day I had to pay the tax, and I got the certificate. So that was the first one I've done directly for myself. I've seen it 1,000 times, through the other companies I was with, and we've handled those. One of the things that I've always, and I'm going to talk to you about this, Joseph, because this is kind of your specialty. I was always taught that they had a time period where once you purchased the certificate, right, or you paid off whatever debt and now you own it for a period of time, isn't there 12 to 24 months that they can run back and settle that debt or somehow get their property back? And there's some sort of period there that you have to be careful with?
That's a really good question. So that period depends on what type of sale we're talking about. So with a tax lien, there is a redemption period. With a tax redemption deed, this is states like Georgia and Texas, there is a redemption period. But in Florida, if we're talking just the tax deed sale, because Florida has lien sales and deed sales. Correct. So when you go to the actual deed sale on realauction.com and you win, there is no redemption period. The minute you didn't make that payment to the county, that deed's coming in your name. It's coming right to the mail.
Yeah. So I was a bit confused because when I went down to purchase this particular property that I'm dealing with right now, there was an LLC that purchased the certificate. So when I went in to purchase it or pay it off, so we didn't have any issues, the lady kept telling me there was going to be no problems. But back in my mind, I'm kind of like, how does that work when someone else is own, some other company? I looked them up. They were, I think, out of Texas, actually. I haven't heard anything from them. I do own the property. I have it now. But I was trying to, I was kind of low key questioning that situation just because I've known about it, but I didn't have the ins and outs of that particular spot. So
you just paid the lien certificate. That's what it was. You didn't. It wasn't a deed yet. It was still in lien mode. It was still in lien period. So that's why you were able to come pay. But if that had gone to deed sale and sold at auction, it would have been too late.
So had it gone, I closed in July. It was supposed to go up for auction, as we found out later, like August 31st. So had it crossed that period, it was gone.
It would have been. Yep, it would have been gone.
Okay, all right.
It's interesting because
it's fun, man.
A lot of people dabble, right? They think that they know what they're doing, but unfortunately for them, it's not as easy a game as you think, which is why he has the Tax Deed Academy, Wolf Academy, why he teaches that. One of the things I love about Joseph is he's always educating. Like he puts all of his ish out there for everybody to see, good, bad, ugly, and different, so that people who want to do this or are interested in it can actually have a method to do it, which is really what we want, especially in this market. I feel like investors are super focused. We talk about this on the show every week. I feel like investors are coming out of the woodwork. They're ready. They've done their research and their homework, and they know what they want to do. But having people who are also as smart in a particular area like tax deed, I think is super important. You also do a lot more than that. So talk about some of the other investment strategies that you have. And you want to check out Joseph's social media, which we will tag in all of this, because he puts it out there. He's literally constantly talking about doors and tax deeds and investment scenarios and things like that. I think it's really brilliant. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what happened was, when I got into tax deeds, it was one of the lowest barriers of entry in real estate that I ever seen. So that's why I jumped into it. Once we started doing this, I then started, connecting. And once I retired from nursing at 29, then I was able to meet people like Ted and meet people, like you. And we're all over the place, meeting. And we're learning, we're growing. I'm taking this course, going to this event, that event. And then I was like, man, there is so much more than tax deeds. And so I went from buying the properties myself, and this is where I first branched off. I was buying the properties myself and then selling them. So I was flipping in a sense, right? But then I learned wholesale, and I was like, if I'm just going to sell these, why am I even wasting my time putting the money up if I can just get it under contract and then assign that contract to an end buyer? So then we started wholesaling, and wholesaling really changed my life. And then from there, of course, Airbnb. So then we're short-term rentals like Airbnb, VRBO. So a lot of things really made a lot of sense once we were making a certain amount of money in this area. And that kind of brings you to, we talk about multiple streams of income, and everyone thinks like, oh, I have to do insurance, and I have to be a lender, and I have to work for Geico, and I have to work at McDonald's, but that's not really what we mean when we say multiple streams. So we took one niche, and I figured out how to basically vertically integrate and make money within still that same niche. So that's pretty much all it was. And then opened up the real estate brokerage because we wanted to help people. I didn't see a lot of investor-friendly brokerages out there. I'm asking a lot of realtors certain questions like, hey, what's cash on cash return? Hey, what's a purchase cap? What's this? What's that? And no one knew. And that, let me know like, all right, we need more investor-friendly brokerages, just like we have investor-friendly lenders out there. And that's when we opened up Wolfpack Realty in Deltona.
How do you, I have so many questions. How do you go from nursing to investments? Did you have a background? Did you have a family background? Did it just pique your interest while you were a nurse, a practicing nurse, and military? Like, how did that all come about? Because I think a lot of people are interested, but they're afraid to take the leap. They're interested, and maybe they don't want to spend $75,000 on some crazy ass class. Sorry, I said it. That there's not a lot of in between, and people don't know where to go to because there's a lot of snake oil salesmen and saleswomen out there promoting things. So how did it come about for you?
Easy answer. Success leaves clues. I looked around and I saw all these successful people. There was a doctor that I worked with as a nurse in the ICU, and even he owned a ton of real estate. And I'm like, how does this guy, he showed me his account, his stock account. It was just his stock account, for crying out loud. And I seen $4 million in that one account. Woo. And I'm like, okay, what are you doing besides, being a doctor? And he's like, oh, well, I own a ton of real estate, he had apartment buildings. And so I started looking around and I was like, wow, the most successful people in this world own real estate. And so that's when I knew, all right, I'm a nurse now, making some decent money. I was a travel nurse at the time. My squad leader overseas had mentioned tax deeds years back in 2014. He mentioned tax deeds to me. We're deployed, making tax-free money. And it's like, yo, we need to put this money into some real estate. I didn't really pay attention back then. I came home and I only bought one house. At least I bought one house. I was 21, bought one house, and then did life for a little bit. And then eventually it was like, okay, it's time to dive in. And went and got that first property, think it was $3,000. Then the next one was $1,900. And then I had flipped those, and then got another one for $5,000, sold it for $20,000. And I was like, okay, this is it. I'm leaving my full-time job, because then I can focus on me more, focus on my mind, my body, my spirit. And that's going to give me the time to connect with other like-minded individuals. We make money together, right? We help people together, and we solve problems together. And that's life-changing.
I love that. And that lets me piggyback on a question I want to ask you. To me, you're generous. You have a generous spirit. And so I wonder, there's not a lot of investment people that have, in my opinion, think generously. Derek's back. Think generously about the investment world. But that's core to you and what you do. Does that come from your training and your empathy being a nurse? Is that always you? Because you give back a lot when it comes to training and education.
It started out that way. Helping people has probably always been in my nature. But it was also, like I said, success leaves clues. And I looked at some of the top companies, and we all think that these companies run themselves, right? Coca-Cola, for example. We think that it's just Coca-Cola, but then you see all the partnerships that they have going on. Like, okay, Coca-Cola products are sold here, and then now there's these other products that they bought, and now we use OPM in the real estate world, other people's money, but in the marketing world, in the business world, we say OPA, other people's audience. So I started seeing that all the collaborations, and I'm like, okay, if I connect with Mr. Carmichael, he's lending and I'm buying, and my group of people love to buy. So if I can connect with him, he can help us get all the money we need to buy the houses. I mean, we're buying 100 properties a year. Maybe he can help out with that. So that collaboration right there is how we came together, we solve a problem, and then we get paid to solve that problem. You get in the business of solving problems, you're going to make a lot of money. But if you get in the business of trying to make a lot of money, you're just going to have problems.
Yeah.
So,
No.
Solution-based, man, that's it.
Tell me about the balance. If you, again, take a look at Joseph's social media, you are prolific on there. I see a lot, and it's a balance between family and business. How do you do it? You have a 4-week-old, by the way.
Congratulations.
I know. How do you do that? Because I think there's a lot of people who say, "Well, I'm too busy in my full-time job. I want to do it. I feel like I've got an entrepreneurial spirit, but I don't. I'm afraid to take the leap." What's some advice that you can give people who are kind of on the fence?
The true test is what you do once you clock out. If you're still working a 9-to-5, you're still working a full-time job, then you're going to have to make a sacrifice. Now, a sacrifice does not mean slaughtering a goat in all cases, right? You may have to sacrifice some time. The time you're putting into watching Netflix, let's maybe start learning about real estate. The time that, even with some of the relationships you have, okay, tell your girlfriend that she needs to wait a little bit. She'll still be there if you have to take an hour or two to read a book, right? So you have to do that sacrifice at first in the beginning. The next biggest thing is going to be, you cannot do this by yourself. You need a team. I talked about collaborations, but a lot of times we think we have to go hire an employee. We don't always have to hire an employee and pay them hourly or salary. My initial help came from like affiliate partnerships. Hey, if you can do this, this, and this for me, then we can split commissions 50%. If you can do this, this, and this for me, I'll give you X amount per sale. So even to this day, I still do that. I have transaction coordinators in the wholesale department, and they make a certain amount of money per sale that closes. So I'm not paying you any money unless you make
Eat what you kill.
I love that. I think that's so important, and I think people are interested. I have a lot of investors and realtors who work with investors reach out to me, and they want to dip their toe in. What's the first place that you might say, hey, this is what you should check out first. This is a good first step for you, or at least a good what did you call it, a funnel for you?
The best thing that I would say is you have to get around like-minded people. We've all heard the saying, if you hang around 4 broke people, you're just going to be the 5th. So if you really want to be a real estate investor, you want to be a millionaire, then you're going to have to start hanging around millionaires. So you can go on Eventbrite. You can follow, Ted here. Any event that he posts, you need to be at. Any real estate, any RIAs in your area, you need to be at. Any Facebook groups, You need to be in those groups. There's apps like Clubhouse. I'm on there often. There's people you can follow on Instagram, like Tax Deed Wolf himself, right? And just stay tuned. What you tune into, you ultimately turn into. So, you know, what are you giving your time to? That's what you're going to be. If you're wasting time and just doing nothing on the weekends even, then that's what you're going to be. So
I have a friend who just reached out to me. She's in real estate, and she's like, I want to reinvent myself. And I'm like, good. I like this thought process, right? You want to try to figure out what to do. And so right before we went live, she sent me a whole litany of things that she had actually written down, which I think is a big deal, because a lot of people go, oh, I want to do that. Oh, I don't know how to do that. I'm like, do you have a plan? Did you write anything down? Like, can we put it down? I'm a big believer in whatever. I'm a faith guy, law of attraction. So whatever you speak is going to come. You got to be careful of the tongue. You want it to be positive, all that good stuff. But she wrote it down. I thought that's where a lot of people miss out. They want what Joseph has or Derek has, but they don't know how to do it. But then again, they don't even want to take the time to write it down. They're going to go watch the Netflix, The Real Housewives. I'm a fan, so don't jump on me about that. But any of that stuff, instead of focusing on something that could change the way that their life is for themselves and multi-generational. So I feel like you have to be consistent, and you have to make sacrifice. There's sacrifice involved. It doesn't mean you're giving up your whole love life, your family. Nobody's asking you to do that, but there are ways for you to cut certain things out that are not productive, so that you can take the next step forward. And it can be little steps, but at least it's movement. And I think a lot of people are fearful of movement. All right. So as we wrap up, Mr. Carmichael, what's the best way they can find more information about you and what you do?
All right, guys, my Instagram, Mr. Carmichael. You can email me. You can hit me on my phone, 407-731-0215. On the TED show, reach out to Ted, text him, tell him they put us in the group chat, but you can find me. I'm out here. And I'm going to be at all, or trying to do better about being at Ted's events. Like Joseph
Listen, y'all, Linktree. My Linktree is scrolling across there. Go to Linktree and look up Ted Bogert, and it's Bogert, not Bogart. I have a ton of events. I've got like 7 this week. I've got 10 next week. But most importantly, how can we reach you, Joseph? How can they find out more about you and what you do?
So on any platform, Tax Deed Wolf, on Instagram, Tax Deed Wolf CEO, and just taxdeedwolfacademy.com. If you can't find that, just Google Tax Deed Wolf, and there's going to be plenty of everything there. Go see what we're about. If you want to learn, if you want to come join our community, then definitely come in, join the community. And real quick, Ted, I want to stress the importance of consistency. A lot of people give up too fast. Okay, we give up too quickly. I think it was Jeff Bezos was saying he didn't make profit for like 10 years, right? Elon Musk was this close to filing bankruptcy before he got the contract. So don't give up. It takes time. My team knows that. If this show right here, to give you an example, I don't expect this show to do anything until the next 60 to 90 days. Okay. I'm not saying it's not going to do anything. I'm just saying I don't expect immediate results. So what that means, we come in here, we present. I may not meet someone else until the next event that Ted has, which is 30 days from now. So we have to understand that you have to continue to grow, the compound effect, get better and better every day. And you have to keep showing up. And this is why we talk about follow-up and all these other things when it comes to marketing and managing a CRM. But please, if you suck at whatever you do, you can absolutely suck at it and be consistent enough and still do better than everybody else.
Fair enough. I've been using that, man. I've been using that lately. I've been stepping out of my comfort zone, doing all kinds of weird stuff. But it's
the only way to grow. Like there's a local person in town who talks about staying in your comfort zone. And in my opinion, I feel like I already know what I can do in that. Yeah. I need to do things differently. And if I'm expecting the same result, what is that? The definition of insanity. If you continue to do the same thing and expect a different result. Right. And I think a lot of real estate professionals are experiencing that right now. They're posting the same post with the key and just closed. And then they can't figure out why they haven't gotten 25 listings off of that one post. You have to do something different. You have to get outside. You have to go to the luxury events. You have to go to an event that is outside of the industry so you meet new people. There's lots of things that you can do. You just have to do it One event a week would be great. One event a month. I don't care what it is, but consistency and progress is what you want to make. It's some sort of movement. So big kudos to both of you. You know, I love and respect each of you. You guys find Mr. Carmichael and Mr. Griffin on social media. I appreciate you guys. Next week, we'll be back on Monday, our regularly scheduled bat channel and bat time. Nobody's going to know what that means except for old people like me. I appreciate you both. We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody. Get out there. Do it.